Teen Mom 2 star Kailyn Lowry cries over plastic surgery regrets and body dysmorphia struggles. In a world increasingly dominated by curated images and airbrushed lives, the pursuit of perfection can feel like an unrelenting chase. For Kailyn Lowry, a public figure thrust into the spotlight at a young age, the pressure to conform to beauty standards was magnified by her presence on reality television. As one of the most recognizable stars from MTV's Teen Mom 2, Kailyn's life has played out in front of millions. But behind the screens, filters, and public appearances, she faced a silent battle. One that couldn't be fixed by the scalpel or silenced by fame. Kailyn's body image issues began long before she considered plastic surgery. Growing up in a world that measured a woman's worth by the size of her waist and the symmetry of her face, she struggled with self-esteem from an early age. The television cameras that captured her teenage motherhood also magnified every perceived flaw she saw in herself. Fans, critics, and tabloids dissected her appearance regularly. Each comment, no matter how fleeting, left a scar. As her platform grew, so did the intensity of the expectations placed on her appearance. Kailyn often spoke candidly about her insecurities, using her platform to voice the complex relationship many women have with their bodies. But vulnerability didn't shield her from the criticism that rained down in comment sections and headlines. She tried to ignore it, tried to remind herself of her worth beyond looks, but it wasn't easy. Like many women in the spotlight, she internalized the message that she needed to change. In her late 20s, Kailyn turned to cosmetic surgery, hoping it would quiet the insecurities that plagued her. It wasn't a decision made lightly. It was one that came after years of contemplating whether altering her appearance would finally bring peace. Liposuction, a tummy tuck, and other enhancements seemed like a ticket to confidence. She believed the procedures would help her feel more in control, more beautiful, more deserving, more like the women she saw constantly praised on social media. Initially, the transformation felt like a fresh start. She felt empowered, almost reborn. The new body reflected the version of herself she had long fantasized about. Compliments rolled in, and for a while, it seemed the external validation soothed the internal turmoil. But the high was temporary. What surgery didn't fix, and could never fix, was the root of her pain: body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is an insidious mental health condition, one that distorts a person's perception of their own body. What others see as normal or even beautiful, the person sees as flawed or grotesque. For Kailyn, the surgeries didn't cure this distortion, they intensified it. Every minor imperfection became magnified. She began obsessing over small details, things no one else would notice. The mirror became a source of anxiety rather than reassurance. The aftermath of the surgeries was more complex than the procedures themselves. Physically, she had to recover from the pain and discomfort. Emotionally, she had to come to terms with a body that no longer felt like hers. The confidence she thought would come never fully materialized. In fact, she felt more disconnected from herself than ever. The illusion of control had shattered. Over time, Kailyn started to open up about her regrets. On her podcast and social media, she began to peel back the layers of her story, not for sympathy, but to shed light on a reality many women face. She talked about how the decision to go under the knife wasn't just about appearance, but about trying to soothe the emotional wounds. She admitted she believed changing her body would change how she felt inside. But the self-loathing, the critical voice in her head, remained louder than ever. Kailyn's story is not unique. Countless women turn to plastic surgery believing it will solve deeper insecurities, only to find themselves still searching for acceptance. What makes Kailyn's story powerful is her willingness to share it while still in the midst of the journey. She hasn't wrapped it up in a neat bow. She still struggles. She still has days when she hates what she sees in the mirror. But she's learning to be kinder to herself. Therapy has become an important part of her healing process. It's where she unpacks the years of shame and self-judgment. It's where she's learning to differentiate between the voice of her inner critic and her true self. Through therapy, she's begun to understand that the obsession with perfection is a symptom of deeper wounds. Wounds that require compassion, not correction. Motherhood has also played a profound role in her path towards self-acceptance. Raising her children, she's hyper-aware of the messages they receive about beauty and self-worth. She doesn't want them to grow up with the same warped ideas she internalized. Kailyn talks openly with them about loving their bodies, about rejecting unrealistic standards. In trying to protect them, she's slowly learning how to protect herself. Today, Kailyn speaks out not just as a reality star, but as a mental health advocate. She uses her platform to dismantle the illusion that cosmetic surgery is a cure-all. She talks about the mental health aspect that so often gets ignored in conversations about beauty. For every person who considers surgery, she wants them to ask themselves, what are you truly trying to fix? Her vulnerability has created a ripple effect. Fans reach out to share their own struggles. Women thank her for speaking the words they've never had the courage to say aloud. In a world where curated perfection reigns, Kailyn's raw honesty is a breath of fresh air. But the road ahead isn't easy. Body dysmorphia doesn't disappear overnight. Some days are better than others. Some days she feels strong. Other days she spirals into self-doubt. But she keeps showing up. She keeps trying. And in that persistence, there is power. Kailyn's experience serves as a reminder that beauty cannot be surgically implanted. Confidence isn't stitched in with sutures or sculpted with suction. True self-love comes from facing the pain, the insecurities, and the fears, and choosing to accept yourself anyway. She's learning to reclaim her body, not as an object to be judged, but as a vessel for her life. Every scar tells a story. Every curve, every line, every imperfection is part of who she is. And who she is enough. In the end, Kailyn's story isn't about surgery. It's about survival. It's about a woman who looked in the mirror and decided to stop fighting with her reflection. It's about making peace with a body that has carried her through trauma, motherhood, and transformation. It's about letting go of the illusion of perfection and finding beauty in the broken, the bruised, the becoming. Because real healing doesn't happen under bright lights or with perfect angles. It happens in quiet moments of grace, in whispered affirmations, in the simple act of saying, I am still worthy. I am still here. And for Kailyn Lowry, that's enough. Janelle Evans' 3 kids. All about Jace, Kaiser, and Ensley. Janelle Evans has long been a name associated with the world of reality TV, known primarily for her turbulent time on NTV's Teen Mom 2. Over the years, her journey into motherhood has been followed closely by fans and critics alike. Through all the drama, legal troubles, and personal growth, one element has remained constant: her role as a mother to 3 children, Jace, Kaiser, and Ensley. Jace Vaughn Evans, born in 2009, was Janelle's first child, and his birth marked the beginning of her reality television fame. Viewers were first introduced to Janelle through NTV's 16 and Pregnant, and it was Jace's arrival that catapulted her into the spotlight. However, unlike the conventional route of young motherhood, Janelle's parenting of Jace quickly became complicated. Shortly after his birth, Janelle's mother, Barbara Evans, took custody of Jace. At the time, Janelle was struggling with a number of issues including unstable housing, legal problems, and substance use. Given those circumstances, Barbara stepped in to provide a more stable environment for her grandson. What followed was a custody arrangement that would stretch on for more than a decade, and much of that was documented on Teen Mom 2. Jace grew up largely in Barbara's care, with Janelle having visitation rights and eventually regaining more time with him as the years passed. The relationship between Janelle and Barbara was often contentious, with frequent arguments about parenting, lifestyle choices, and what was best for Jace. The custody battle between the two became a central storyline on the show, and fans were divided on who was truly acting in Jace's best interest. Despite their challenges, Janelle never gave up the fight to be more involved in her son's life. Over the years, she made attempts to stabilize her situation, moving to a more permanent home, getting married, and striving to improve her image as a parent. In 2023, Janelle announced that she had regained full custody of Jace, a milestone that marked a new chapter for their family. However, reports later emerged suggesting that Jace had run away multiple times under her care, sparking fresh concerns and reigniting the debate over his living situation. Still, Janelle expressed publicly that her love for Jace was unwavering, emphasizing how proud she was to have him home and how hard she had worked to build a life that could support all of her children. Her relationship with her eldest has always been layered, influenced by her past, but continually evolving. Kaiser Orion Griffith entered the world in 2014. He is Janelle's second son, and his father is Nathan Griffith, a former Marine who also appeared on Teen Mom 2. Janelle and Nathan's relationship was highly volatile, often marked by arguments, accusations, and legal entanglements. Their breakup was messy, and much like Janelle's previous relationships, it had a significant impact on their child. Kaiser's early years were mired in tension between his parents. Custody arrangements were contested and shifted multiple times, and Nathan expressed concerns about Janelle's ability to provide a stable environment for their son. Janelle, in turn, accused Nathan of being manipulative and untrustworthy. Both parties made public statements, sometimes through social media or in interviews, about the other's parenting skills. Despite the rocky co-parenting dynamic, Janelle seemed to focus on maintaining stability for Kaiser. He lived primarily with her, though he also spent time with Nathan and his extended family. As Kaiser got older, he began school and showed signs of growing up in a more structured environment. Janelle frequently posted updates about his milestones, his first day of kindergarten, his interests, and his personality quirks. Kaiser has often been portrayed as a spirited and active child, one who craves attention and thrives when given structure and affection. Janelle has emphasized her efforts to create a nurturing environment for him, with routines, meals, and a consistent schedule. Still, rumors and reports occasionally surfaced alleging CPS investigations or household instability, drawing renewed scrutiny to Janelle's parenting. Through it all, Kaiser remains a bright spot in Janelle's life. She has spoken about how he keeps her grounded, how much joy he brings into the family, and how she hopes to give him the type of upbringing that allows him to flourish. Co-parenting with Nathan remains strained, but both have expressed a desire, at least publicly, to do what's best for their son. Ensley Jolie Eason, born in 2017, is Janelle's only daughter and her youngest child. Ensley's father is David Eason, Janelle's husband, who has been a controversial figure in his own right. Their relationship has been deeply scrutinized, and David's past behavior, including alleged domestic violence, homophobic social media posts, and a high-profile incident involving the family dog, has significantly affected Janelle's public image. Despite the controversies, Janelle has consistently portrayed herself as a devoted mother to Ensley. She often posts pictures of her daughter on social media, showing her dressed up for school, playing with her siblings, or enjoying family outings. Ensley has a bubbly personality and seems to enjoy the attention that comes from being the youngest child in a very public family. Unlike her older brothers, Ensley has lived primarily with both her parents since birth, aside from a brief period in 2019 when Janelle temporarily lost custody of all three children. This loss occurred after David shot and killed the family's pet dog, which led to an investigation by Child Protective Services and widespread public backlash. For several weeks, Ensley and her brothers were removed from the home. Eventually, after a legal fight, Janelle regained custody of her kids, including Ensley. Since then, Janelle has emphasized her family's unity and the improvements she claims they've made in their parenting and lifestyle. Still, skeptics remain, pointing to recurring legal problems, online drama, and ongoing questions about the children's well-being. Critics often argue that the chaotic environment could have long-term effects on Ensley and her brothers. However, Janelle maintains that she and David provide a safe and loving home for Ensley. She talks openly about homeschooling efforts, creative playtime, and plans for the future. Ensley appears to be deeply bonded to both her parents, and Janelle often refers to her as her little best friend. Few parents experience the level of public scrutiny that Janelle Evans does. From her early teen years to adulthood, every parenting decision has been dissected by viewers, commentators, and fans. While some empathize with her struggle to mature under the harsh light of reality TV fame, others are less forgiving, seeing a pattern of unstable behavior and poor choices. Janelle has never denied that her past includes mistakes. She has openly admitted to poor judgment, toxic relationships, and issues with the law. However, she frequently insists that she has grown, matured, and become more self-aware, especially since becoming a mother of 3. She has taken to platforms like YouTube and Instagram to share her side of the story, showing snippets of her daily routine and parenting style. Her critics argue that online personas can be curated, and that reality often tells a different story. Reports of children running away, alleged abuse, or social service interventions continue to follow her, muddying her efforts to rebrand herself as a changed woman and capable mother. Supporters, on the other hand, see a woman who came from a difficult background and is doing her best with limited resources and an intensely public life. They point to her willingness to fight for custody, her hands-on role in her children's lives, and her attempts to shield them from online negativity as signs of growth. As of now, Jace is entering adolescence, grappling with the challenges that come with growing up under the eye of the public while dealing with familial changes. Kaiser is thriving in elementary school, known for his affectionate nature and bold personality. Ensley, still young, enjoys the joys of childhood, largely unaware of the outside world's opinions. Janelle's parenting journey has never been straightforward, and it likely never will be. But her 3 children, Jace, Kaiser, and Ensley, remain the focal points of her life. Whether seen as a cautionary tale, a redemption arc in progress, or simply a complex reality, Janelle Evans' story as a mother continues to unfold, with her children at the heart of every chapter.